Hey, Real Green Ninja here. Due to a request today, we're going to do a crash course on NPS score. So let's begin. NPS stands for Net Promoter Score. Essentially, it's a score that your customer will give your company on a scale of 0 through 10 and how likely they are to recommend you to your friends and neighbors. So what you're going to do is first you got to make sure that that question or request shows up on the remit portion of your statements or invoices. So under Data, Company Parameters, General Setup, under Aging Statements Invoices, you'll see there's a checkbox called NPS, which again you hover over, it tells you it's NPS score. You also have one again for statements. So again, by default, the NPS question is going to pop up on that invoice and statement. Now you can turn it off on the fly if you need to, but most people, once they turn it on, they just leave it on there. All right. Now on the statement screen, we're going to go ahead and just grab some statements here. There we go, and do a preview here, and we'll scroll down to the remit portion of the statement, and you'll see there's the question on a scale of 0 to 10, not likely or very likely, how likely to recommend us. So again, your customer will then write that score in this area, and then you can put it into the system. Now on the invoices, and again, depending on which format you use, it might be in a slightly different location, but for the most part, it's always going to be in the remit portion. But on the invoices, if we scroll down a little bit, once the preview pulls up, there we go. There again, you'll see it says on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely to recommend it. So like I was saying is, you would have to make sure that it prints on the statements or invoices for your customers to even see the question and therefore put their score in. Now, once the customer actually sends their payment in, you're going to enter that score. And that score is actually entered on the payment screen. So if we go to the payment screen, if we go to a customer right here, that's what I was going to work with, and we go to his payment screen, you'll see there's an NPS box up here in the upper right-hand corner. This is where you can actually set the score. So let's say this customer gives you a score of 8. All right, you're going to put the rest of the payment in as you normally would, again, just indicating it's 8 there, hit save, and hit post. Cancel, yes, there we go. And then if we look at the customer's history tab, you'll see there's actually a line entry called for the NPS score, and you'll see it has that score of number 8. If you look at different customers, they have different NPS scores. Again, that will say NPS 7 or 5 or 2 or whatever score they gave you. Now, this is the one exception to being able to delete stuff out of the history, because this is the only thing that you're able to actually delete out of history, because it has no dealing with financial information. But why would you want to delete it out? Because, well, you want to put it in the system so you can keep track of these type of things. Now, as far as using the NPS score, once it's in the system, you can do one of two things. You can filter reports out with it. So let's go ahead and go to a straight customer list here, and then go to the options. Oops, didn't mean to hit that. Preview, there we go, options. And you'll see there's actually a tab called NPS. And I'm saying I only want to see people with the NPS scores I've check marked up here, without the NPS scores I've checked them right here, or just ignore NPS scores. But again, this is a filter that lets you select whether or not that customer shows up on the report. And of course, you're going to select the date range that that NPS score would show up. And that date range is a transaction date that would show up on the customer's history tab. Now, as far as actually generating a report for an NPS score, you're going to hit this export option, and then you're going to hit this drop down until you select NPS score. Again, it's going to ask you for the date range, and again, that's the date range, the transaction date, as well as you have the option of doing a summary or showing a detailed list. I personally kind of like to see the detailed list because I can see where those scores are falling. Again, you might run it for a specific route, or you might run it for a specific zip code, simply to see how your technicians are doing. Again, assuming that you're including that information or that request on the statements or invoices, and then their customers are reporting it back. But once you select your NPS score and you select your date range and whether or not you want to show detail, you're going to hit OK on report options, hit OK on the report itself. It's going to generate something that looks like this. It's going to go through and it's going to show you the name, the account number, the name of the customer, the address, the city, the zip, and as well as what that NPS score is. Now, down here, you'll see it actually has a Net Promoter Score of 14.28. Now, you may ask, what the heck does that mean? I mean, what purpose is that Net Promoter Score? Or how does it come out to 14.28? Because obviously it's not like the average or anything. Well, if you go to the customer access point, which is this site right here, we can submit online support, call requests, and feature requests, and so on and so forth. There actually is a Net Promoter Score document. So when you go to the document, it actually will tell you what that score ends up meaning. And you'll see it says responses ranging from 0 to 6 are called detractors. All right, so there's a negative. All right, 7 and 8 are passive, which means they don't have any impact on the score, and 9 and 10 are positive, are the promoters or the positive. And then it's going to take the percentage of promoters, the 9 and 10s, subtract the percentage of the detractors, and that is that Net Promoter Score. So again, it's one of those things where if you were to call me up and say, hey, what do these scores mean and what do these numbers mean and stuff, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my help resources and try to find out. Because, again, there's so much information about this software. I don't think anybody knows everything. But, again, like I said, that's why I make these videos, to kind of help you guys out, or at least to help you guys out. So, like I was saying, is you can go through, run your reports and stuff like that. And what some companies will do is they'll actually have a promotion or a challenge for their technicians. They might give them some sort of performance bonus, whoever has the highest net promoter score at the end of the season type of thing. Again, what you want to use it for, it's up to you. But it's really good to find out, like, well, how satisfied are our customers? But of course, you have to make sure to include the question, and of course, you have to make sure that your customers put the information in, and you have to make sure that you put the information on the payment screen. And then you can run the report, and that export to net promoter score works for pretty much any report. I mean, I can actually come through here and run a customer list by program job. I can tell it to export, and again, I can tell it to export out to the NPS report. So I hope this all helps, and you guys have yourself a wonderful day.